everyone, welcome back to Mars for another nature figure review. This is going to be our second review of the fall season. We're out here in the forest. We've got the third release, Storm Arena Yujiro Hanma. There's been some debates about this figure, about the size and things like that, and we're going to talk about it. We've got some things to talk about. I will tell you on this end, there are no complaints. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at this packaging here. It looks really good. I think they might have updated the Storm Arena logo. It just looks a bit different. It looks more sharper around the edges, around the font. So maybe this is a future look at a updated Storm Arena logo. Here you can see we've got the window, which is great for the figure. You can see what's inside. They didn't cut off any pieces here at the top, which is great. I don't think they're going to do that for any of the Storm Arena releases. Hell, I don't think they're going to do that for any of the Storm collectible releases anymore. Ever since Luke and then Ryu, like, no, bro, you got to stop. No more. On the side here, we got our renders here. Same thing, back to back. And then on the actual back, we have our collage of different poses. These are noticeable because we saw these in the promotional images for the pre-orders. Here you've got Storm collectibles. Again, my theory is, you've got Storm collectibles, but now they've got their own branding under Storm Arena as well, which may allow them to get certain IPs. Maybe again, maybe Tekken, maybe Mortal Kombat. We'll have to wait and see. But let's go ahead and get this figure out of the box and see what all it comes with. This is going to be a general release. I would say this is like a substantial release for the Baki line. Mind you, this is the first ever Baki Storm Arena release. You can see we're going to be getting two head sculpts. They both look great. I've seen in the community, people are saying they're a bit small. We will cover that in a bit. And then we've got three sets of hands. We have two open hands and our closed fist. And they're really pushing it. They're really, pushing past the finish line, barely, I guess you could say, when they include the stand for the figure itself within the plastic slips. I mean, third release in and we're getting this. I wouldn't say upset, because I'm not, but I am a bit shocked. I mean, it's very smart if you think about it, because imagine if they didn't have these stands here, like the base and the stand or what have you. It would just be the figure with like 5 slots for the accessories, and that's pretty much it. So this is kind of clever, a clever way of making you think you're getting more when you're, really just getting a sufficient amount. But let's go ahead and get this figure out of the plastic and take a closer look. First, starting off with some size comparisons, because that seems to be one of the biggest complaints with this release. To kick it off, we've got Storm Arena, the whole lineup thus far with the first ever Storm Arena Ken Masters. Then we've got the Ryu and now Yujiro Hanma. This is going to be, I would say, your least bundled figures to come out of Storm Arena. These are the first 3 figures to come out of Storm Arena, yet they are the most underwhelming when compared to the current pre-orders we have out right now. Ryu and Ken both are going to be New York Comic Con exclusives, hopefully so. We know one of them will be at least. And we're going to be picking them up. So if you want to see that review, it's going to be in Central Park. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you stay tuned, the bell notification as well, so you're alert when that review drops, because it probably will be the first ever Storm Arena exclusive review ever to hit the platform. Probably so. And then, well, most definitely was a Central Park. And then we will be going live this Monday, which is tomorrow if you're watching this now, and we're going to discuss those exclusives. So make sure you stay tuned for that live stream. Now let's get to the figures at hand. As you can see, they're about eye to eye. However, there is one mechanic that I'm not seeing being discussed online. Granted, probably it won't look right, but it is an option that you do have that can get you those nice and big proportionated shots of Yujiro. So what you're going to want to do is bring up the figure here. This figure does feature drop down legs, by the way. So I'm sorry, in the full review video, I just completely overlooked that. They do have drop down legs. So that's one way to get the figure, a little bit taller, right? Just a little bit. I mean, you can kind of see the difference now, but it doesn't stop there. We can go a little bit further here. The cool thing with Storm, and you know, if you've been handling Storm for a while, you kind of know what's up. With this joint here, you can just place it on top, raise it a little bit. I mean, you can still look around. The neck has just gone up some more. And let's bring it back in here and see what the difference is. So you can see, like, he's a much taller now, I would say. And I think Storm probably had that in mind when making this figure. You know, it's giving us an extra option as far as like how tall the figure can be and things like that. Similar to SH Figuarts, like with their Dragon Ball figures, sometimes they have it to where this torso joint, you can actually pull it up and kind of make the figure a bit taller. Granted, you could argue aesthetically probably isn't accurate, and that no one would want to do that or no one needs to do that, but this is your option to make the figures look taller. And when you go and pose this figure around, I mean, there's going to be gaps here and there anyway, so what's the difference in the end, right? Let's go ahead and move into our next size comparison. For our final comparison, we've got the Maximum Series Hulk and Spider-Man. Again, you can kind of see like Yujiro is a bit taller. However, when we go and put everything back into place here, I'll drop these, I'll pull those up, slide that down. He's gonna appear much smaller, I would say. I mean, most definitely so. So you can see the difference there. Just a little bit of tweaking, a little manipulation. We had a spider in the last review, and we've got another one here for you today. There's another spider for you. A lot of spiders. But yeah, that's going to be it for the size comparison. Now let's take a closer look at the figure itself. Okay, yeah, I really do enjoy this figure. I think it looks good. You know, I like the aesthetic of it. They did a really good job. Proportions. You even have the demon back here as well. So I mean, the sculpting on this figure is great. It does have its flaws. You know, I've got some paint blemishes here. You can see right there on the forearm as well, the little black mark. Let's see. I know, oh, we'll get to the articulation here in a minute. And then here on the back, you can see there's a mark. So for me, it's a constant when it comes to Storm. So I'm not like shocked in any way. This kind of happens all the time with their figures. Like just the painting is a little off at some point. It's not immaculate painting 100% all of the time whenever it is painted. But yeah, that's just how it is with Storm. I think they captured the likeness pretty well. A lot of people are saying this is like a small head, and to an extent, I do agree, but just the whole series as a whole, if you know Baki and things like that, like everything is like disproportionated. So that's just the series itself. So maybe Storm was trying to capture that in some shape or form, and I think they did a great job. I mean, no complaints here when it comes to the aesthetic. And don't forget, like this figure is costing you like $37, maybe $40 in the higher end, and you know, for what you're getting, this is still a nice Yujiro option. I'm sure in the future we're gonna get an updated body maybe, or a one without a shirt on. So let's go ahead and get into the articulation. He can, you know, look down this much, which is pretty good. Let's focus in on it for you guys. So he can look down this much. He can look up this much. Is that a brown lacrosse? I don't even know, bro. Like sometimes you gotta be careful with these spiders, dude. They're everywhere. Yeah, you gotta go just in case, because I don't know what you are. So let's see. So yeah, you can look up this much, down this much. The sun is starting to come out. It's looking good out here. You can look side to side. You can even lean side to side. And you see how I'm moving this head around like so nice and easy and things like that? It's not 100% flush. Like it's not pushed down onto the figure. And that's kind of like how Storm collectibles come. Like sometimes their head sculpt is like smushed down onto the figure. You just gotta, you know, fix it up a little bit. Look at that. Look at the difference there. Much better. Let's see. For the arms, I mean, we knew that was going to be the case. Great articulation. And I mean, the muscle definition, guys, like something truly spectacular from Storm. So anytime they get a character where it's got muscle definition, they are going to knock it out of the park. So it looks really good. You've got your, you know what? As a matter of fact, we're going to do something a little bit different here. So I hope you're ready. Let's now get into the articulation segment for this review. All right, now through that articulation segment, you probably noticed that, yeah, for me, with the knee, it did come out just like that. But how should you view this? Should you view this as like, oh, you know what, like their quality is crap, like it's over? I mean, sure, that's one way to look at it. Yeah, of course, if you want to be negative about the situation, but I see this as an opportunity because let's see on the feet. I don't know if that's dirt or from the actual tree or the table, but I see this as a opportunity because now you can have this figure, you know, hypothetically, have his leg cut off, and you can have blood there. So I think that's something to look at. I mean, granted, nobody wants to articulate their figure and then a leg or a knee or something pop out or come off or break off in the worst case scenario. But, you know, for this, I don't think it's actually that big of a deal. I can put the leg back in and you can see like now it's great. You just have to be more intentional. You can't be like wild, I guess, when doing it. And even still, like, it's great, you know? So I think that's a good option. And it's not uncommon to have figures have joints and legs come off and things like that either. So, but you know, ultimately you don't want those things to happen fresh out the box. And they do happen. And, you know, we're spending, you know, upwards to $40 for this figure. If this was $100 figure or even like a Tamashii Nations $80 figure, then yeah, unacceptable for sure. But at this price point, at this quality, that's a pass for me. Still, no complaints. Would you see that with a Jada figure? I don't think so, if I'm being honest. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the head sculpts and pairs of hands that come with Yujiro Hanma. This is our first head sculpt, and you can see it's a nice stoic expression. It looks really good. And then one thing I do also want to point out is that, let's see, let's get here a little bit closer for you. You can see in the eyes there, you've got that little white dot. I'm not sure if we had that with Ryu and Ken. And now that I'm looking, I don't see that with Ryu or for Ken. Here, let me show you. So there's Ryu. There's no little white speck in the eye for Ryu. Nor is it there for Ken. But we do have it. We do have it for Yujiro Hanma. And I think Storm probably got this idea from Jada. I mean, Jada's eyes on their outfit line looks really good. So, I mean, and I know they were also going to do it with the Chun-Li as well, but even so, the one on Jada's looked great. So I wouldn't be surprised, though. It's a good move on both companies. I really like the extra detail for the eyes. Now let's take a look at the second head sculpt. Here is our second head sculpt, looking great. Looking real nice. And then you could actually put this head sculpt on Yujiro and then do the same thing I was doing earlier to make him taller. And the figure will look even more taller because of the hair sticking up and things like that. So that is going to cover it for the head sculpts. Both look great. Nice and detailed, nice and painted as well. Nice black wash throughout the hair. I think it looks great. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at the pairs of hands for Yujiro Hanma. Up first, we have our closed fist that the figure comes with. And I do want to go back and just really highlight how nicely detailed these hands are for this figure and just for Storm Arena as a whole. You know, you can see the vascular in the top of the hands there, like the veins popping through. It looks really good. When compared to like the Storm Arena Ryu and Ken, I mean, these bare hands look a lot better. And, you know, to be fair, I mean, with their hands, it's just like they have the mittens on or like the gloves on, right? So you really can't be that detailed. But I would argue even still, like, the knuckles maybe could look better with these releases. Like, let's just see the knuckles here. Like, you just see how bare bone the knuckles are. Like, Yujiro's and then Ryu's. You know? With that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into our second set of hands. Up next, we've got our first open hands here, and we're going to be taking a look again at just the detailing of the hands. You know, you can see again just how nice they look. Nice and detailed, and I'm just hoping that in the future for Storm, we're going to be getting the same consistency all the way around for these figures. Now let's take a look at our last and final set of hands. For our last set, they're still open hands, but not as open as the previous. And then again, you can just see the detailing there with these hands. They look really good all the way around. All right, and then with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the final conclusion for Yujiro Hanma. Real quick, before we get into that, I do want to see if we can do that pose that is on the back of the box. That was like one of my biggest things, is like, can the figure actually do this pose right here? So let's see. I'm about to check it out right now. If I can make it happen myself. So that, and then this, and then this. If this happens, y'all, I mean, that's gonna be, you know, true to the promoting. I don't know, it might have been rigged. Just enjoy the plane passing over. We will get this. No, it looks like it's not possible. Doesn't look possible at all. So let's just check and see one time. Yep. Doesn't look like it's gonna happen. And yep. So we just debunked that promotional image. And then maybe it's me on the other hand, who knows? But with that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta say, this figure, it really is meeting the expectation that I had. You know, because I wasn't going in this crazy. But I will say that would have been cool to have been able to make that pose happen. Ultimately, at the end of it all, I highly recommend this figure. It is still a great figure. I've showed you the manipulations that you can do to where the figure can look taller. If that is a critique for you about this figure, there's a solution there for you. So you can be happy with this figure. You know, you can feel satisfied with this figure. Does the figure come a bit bare boned? I mean, yes, but we're talking about a series that really doesn't have any like crazy special effects. We're talking about the world's strongest man. The world's strongest man doesn't need to have a lot of accessories that come with it, especially at the price point that we're talking here. If you want more accessories, get the Storm Collectibles, Yujiro Hanma. But you don't want a figure that's 7 inches? Okay, well, this is the Yujiro that you're stuck with. This is the Yujiro that you can get, and it is a good quality figure. It is worth the amount. Yes, it has its flaws. Storm always has its flaws when it comes to paint application. I mean, you can even see here, there's a little black speck there as well on the collar. That's just something that's pretty much a norm at this point. We would want our figures not to be that way, but because of the craftsmanship from Storm, unfortunately, they appear that way sometimes. Great figure, super excited for Baki. The word on the street was that Baki is going to be releasing in October. We'll have to wait and see. We still got all of October, November, and December. I think we could see Baki by the end of the year, and I think we could possibly also see Sagat by the end of the year, at least over in Hong Kong. Don't forget, we're going to be having the exclusives of Ryu and Ken. We're going to be talking about those tomorrow night, live, Monday, so make sure you check that out. And then, yeah, we'll see you all in the next nature figure review, which most likely will be at the New York Comic Con. Until then, see you all. Have a great day. Peace.